Hold it, wait a minute. Someone's broken the law, and it may be the man who blows this whistle. You'll learn all about it in just a minute. People are funny. Art Linkletter. We hope you're going to have some fun with us in this next half hour because we're covering a lot of very important subjects. For instance, although I'm not a gambling man, I'll bet you 100 to 1 that every one of you who are looking and listening in tonight have broken a law sometime today after you got up and almost even before you left the house. We are surrounded in this modern civilization with thousands of laws, even ancient laws that are still on the books. I have a few here I've clipped out of various magazines. It's illegal, did you know this, to keep cows in tenements in Kentucky, to cut off the tail of horses in Ohio, to drag a rope through Maryland, to use space guns in Massachusetts, to carry live poultry on buses in New York, shave in the center of the street in Tylertown, Mississippi. In Ohio, it is unlawful to enter any premises with the intent to disturb bees. And finally, here in Los Angeles, among other laws that surround us, it is illegal to shoot jackrabbits from the rear of moving streetcars. So you see, you can hardly make a move without breaking some kind of a law that's still on the books. And that's why tonight it was so interesting to us to obtain out of our studio audience just a moment or two ago a man who said he is Simon Pure, he has a halo around his head, and he never breaks any laws. Let's see what we can do with him. How do you do, sir?
How do you do?
Your name is?
Craig Brown.
Where are you from, Craig?
I'm from Hollywood.
Originally?
Missouri, Richmond, Missouri.
And you're a married man, I guess?
That's right.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an automobile salesman, sell Chevrolets.
And you don't break laws?
That's right.
You have never been in jail?
Never been in jail.
Never been arrested?
Never been arrested.
Never set fire to anything?
No.
Now, this is what we are going to do with this fine, upstanding citizen who has never done anything wrong. We are going to put you under surveillance for the next half hour, under the microscopic scrutiny of your own conscience, because we are going to send you out of this studio, and for 30 minutes, all you have to do is to walk around Hollywood. And if you can do this without breaking a law, I am going to give you a beautiful Amana home freezer worth $500. How does that sound?
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
You think you can do it?
Oh, yes, I think I can do it.
Now, just to make it interesting, I'm going to give you some items to take with you. Here's a pencil. You take that. And you must use every one of these items during the next half hour in some way. Here's a pack of matches. Here's a pack of cigarettes. Here is a police whistle. Huh? You seem to be a little nervous about that. Huh?
What kind of a freezer was that, did you say?
And finally, a jackknife. Now, these 5 items, a pencil, a knife, a pack of cigarettes, a police whistle, and a match, you must use in the next 30 minutes and figure out any way to use them. But use them you must, and we'll see whether or not you break any law. It's going to be a very interesting experiment. Away you go, out through the back door. Say goodbye to him, audience. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we certainly trust his conscience, and we know that he will come back with an honest report. But just to be on the safe side, we are sending a private detective after him, and this private detective knows every law in Southern California, and he's going to watch him for all of them. Now, as to the 5 items I gave him, I want to tell you that the one that probably is going to trip him up, I predict this now in advance, is the pack of cigarettes. And it has nothing to do with the smoking of the cigarette. Wait and see whether or not he falls into a trap that not one person out of a million would escape. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, before we went on the air, I asked, as I always do, for volunteers from the audience, and one of the categories I asked for was that of an employee of a large type company. Now, we had hands go up all over the audience because there are many people here who work for big companies. But what one of the people didn't realize was that he had been invited down, given tickets, and fitted the category so perfectly he couldn't resist volunteering. And what this man doesn't know is that we have him framed. Because right now he's backstage in a rehearsal room where he can't hear me, and I want you to meet the man he thinks is miles and miles away from here, his boss, the general manager of the Wilson Meat Packing Company, Mr. Howard Eastwood. Howard, come on in. Well, Howard, you have how many employees down here in the Los Angeles plant?
Oh, about 1,000, I would say.
And this man that we picked out of the audience tonight, what's his name?
Trapani, Bill Trapani.
What does he do?
He's a salesman.
Now, as a salesman, he works for a sales manager.
That's right.
But he knows you.
Well, I think so.
You're the big boss up in the office.
That's right.
How did you start?
Well, pretty far down the line.
Well, what were you? Do you remember?
Yes, I was just a clerk in the office.
And now you're general manager of the whole Los Angeles plant. Certainly done well. But you know that on the way up, you had bosses, and you were nice to the boss, weren't you?
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh. And we know that in America, if an employee is out, for instance, playing golf with the boss, he doesn't particularly want to beat the boss, does he?
Not usually.
Uh-huh. Or if he's trying to sell somebody something, he doesn't want to beat his customer.
No, that's right.
Tonight, we are going to have you in a contest with this employee of yours.
Yeah.
Now, it's going to be a quiz contest on general intelligence, and I want you to deliberately miss or not get any of the questions. In other words, let him beat you more and more and more, and we'll watch him and see how he reacts. In other words, just stall along and see whether or not this fella gets dumber on purpose so that he doesn't beat you as badly. You got that?
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting. Now, if he begins to suspect that you are getting too far ahead, I will mention something like the heat.
Mm-hmm.
The lights are so hot and this and that and the other. And when I mention that, then you come through and get an answer just as fast as you can so you don't get too far ahead.
All right.
Howard, you're a good sport to do this. So you go hide behind that drape over there. And we will now give the signal for our boys to bring Mr. Trapani from backstage out here. He's away back. Our next guest is a man out of the audience, ladies and gentlemen. Picked out of the audience just before we went on the air. Let's give him a nice welcome to the show. Come on in here, sir. How do you do? Your name is...
Bill Trapani.
And Bill, you married man?
Yes, sir.
Where are you from originally?
New York.
Uh-huh. And how long you been out here?
Oh, 10 years.
What do you do for a living?
I sell with Wilson and Company.
What do you sell?
Meat.
Mm-hmm. Boss, a good guy down there?
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Does he have a suggestion box or anything for you employees to drop ideas into?
No, sir.
Well, is there any comparison that you have in your ability to run the business as compared to a boss?
Well, we give our ideas once in a while, and they accept them.
Uh-huh. Do you think, for instance, that you're as smart as your boss is?
No, sir.
You think he's smarter than you are? Uh-huh.
Well, I have to say that. My wife thinks I'm as smart as he is.
Well, that's what a wife is supposed to think. And I'll bet that you will probably be as smart as he is, won't you, eventually?
I hope so.
Mm-hmm. Let's see whether or not you are as smart as he is right now. Would you like to make some kind of a test?
Why, sure.
Well, let's see. We'll need him. So turn around and see him. Yes, sir. There's your boss, Mr. Howard Eastwood. Bang. Well, now, don't worry, because Mr. Eastwood has come down here and said that he would be willing to demonstrate that you two are good friends and the employee relations at Wilson and Company are fine, and he will engage in a contest with you to see who is smarter.
I think I better concede.
No. You want him to do his best?
Absolutely. Very well.
Yes, sir. That's an order right from the head office. Now, let's see how well the two of you do. Now, here's the way the contest will work. I'll call out a question, and the first one of you to answer wins that point. Are we ready? First one. Who was the famous author who wrote Oliver Twist? Twist.
Oliver Twist.
Oliver Twist. I'll give you a little hint. It was an Englishman. Neither you nor your boss seem to know this one. Dick, you got it? Well, I bet you both missed. Dickens. Did you know that?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, why didn't you say it?
I thought my boss would take the cue first.
Now, wait a minute. This is an up contest. Now, you'll be fair about this, won't you?
I'm sure I will, just as
All
fast
right.
as I can.
Yes, sir. All right. What famous college is located in New Haven, Connecticut?
Harvard?
No?
Yale.
Yeah, that's right. Yale. That's right. Now, where is the famous Leaning Tower of what?
Pisa.
That's right. That's 2 for you. What animal started the Great Chicago Fire?
A man.
What was it? Do you? What do you mean, a man? What was it actually? Huh?
Well,
It was a cow, wasn't it?
yes, it was a cow.
Everyone's watching you. Now, you've got to do your best. It's getting hot in here, isn't it? Look at the perspiration on your brow, too. You're getting a little warm. Now, the next question is, what is the capital of Illinois?
Chicago.
What is the capital of Illinois?
Springfield.
That's right, Springfield. Well, so far, ladies and gentlemen, the score is 4-0 in favor of Mr. Trapani. Well, you're doing quite well. 4-0. We're certainly proving who is smarter tonight. Oh, Mr. Eastwood says, I'm a little scared, Bill, and Bill says, me too. Boy, it sure is hot in here. Now, in what sport was Grover Cleveland Alexander famous?
Pitching. Baseball.
That is exactly right. Huh? Pretty hot in here. What is the sunflower state? Kansas. That's right. Score is now 5-1. Who discovered the law of gravity?
Not Einstein.
Not Einstein. We're not asking who did not discover the law of gravity. We're asking who discovered it. Bill, I don't think you'd tell even if you knew. I think, ladies and gentlemen, we have proved something tonight, and that is that Bill Trapani is an average American man who does not enjoy beating his boss, do you?
My boss is a swell fellow. About all I can say.
We have framed you tonight, Bill. And Mr. Trapani, you'll hear all about it. You'll tell him, won't you, Mr. Eastwood?
I'll sure have him in.
Change his tone.
He'll have him in. When I hear a boss say that in that tone of voice, I can only think of one appropriate prize for you tonight for winning this contest. $300 worth of groceries, because when you're not working regularly, you really should have something in the house to eat. And we're going to send Mr. Trapani over to your house a whole truckload of groceries this next week. $300 worth from any of the 6,000 IGA stores all over this country and Canada. Congratulations. You're a good man. I know you two will get along. Good night, everybody. I'm coming down in the audience to talk to a friend of ours who was on the show last week. A volunteer who was here last week was put under a very unusual test, and I would like to have you meet him. Your name again is Dave Phillips.
That's right.
And Dave, where do you work?
I work at Security First National Bank
Where?
in Inglewood.
And you're here in this part of the country for how long?
About 4 months.
From where?
From Chicago, Illinois.
Ladies and gentlemen, last week we picked this man out of the audience. Will you tell him what happened? We had a couple of real dangerous-looking characters, didn't we?
Sure did.
And where did he send you?
Well, it sent me out to try and raise $100 from any one of my friends by midnight.
After the show was over. You had
After the
about
show
4
was-
hours.
That's right.
Now, the interesting thing about this stunt was that he had to go to any of his friends, and these two thugs standing in back of him were there, and you couldn't explain them, could you?
No, I couldn't tell anything about them.
What did you say you needed the money for?
Well, I just said I was in a desperate jam and I had to have it.
Where did you go first?
Well, these two fellas and I left the studio here and went right to Inglewood, to my apartment. I wanted to look up the addresses of some of the officers at the bank.
So now that you got the addresses, where'd you go next?
Well, I went to the manager of the bank.
Into his house.
That's right.
And what did he say?
He wasn't home.
There's the man with the money out when you needed him. Then where'd you go?
I was near Hawthorne, so I went out to Hawthorne, to my cousin's house. And it was dark there, but I knocked on the door, and after knocking for quite a while, she finally came to the door.
What time was it now?
Oh, must have been 11:15.
And you only had till midnight to raise $100.
I was getting pretty desperate.
All right, she came to the door.
And I told her I was in this terrible jam, and my folks weren't home, and I just had to have some money. I had to raise $100 by midnight.
Did she have any children or a husband?
She has 2 children, and her husband works nights, so she was just there to talk to me. And so I told her I couldn't explain these 2 men behind me, but I just had to have the money, and I figured that possibly she could have some of the money.
Where is she, by the way?
She's right here beside me.
Well, let's have her tell part of the story. Would you stand up? You are Mrs.
Calstead.
And what did you think when this young man came to the door with these 2 hoodlums and asked for $100?
Well, he was quite out of character because he doesn't get into jams, but it was very plain he was in one with those hoodlums standing behind.
You didn't ask him any more questions?
No.
Well, what did you do about the money?
Well, I told him I thought I had $100 if he needed it.
And you let him have the 100?
Yes, I did.
You didn't know when you'd get it back?
No.
You didn't know what jam he was in?
No, I didn't, but I
that
knew I'd get it back.
Well, what'd you think of this stunt?
Oh, I just thought she was the most wonderful person in the world right then.
And it's really tough to get $100, isn't it?
It is, and here's a person that didn't ask me a question, just handed it over to me and said, here.
Now you know you have a real friend there.
Boy, I sure do.
And anybody who needs $100 who is in trouble, what's your address? Well, this kind of proves something to you, and it kind of revives your faith in your fellow human beings and in
Sure
relatives.
does. It sure does.
Well, Mrs.
Calstead.
We'd like to have you take home a little present in addition to this wonderful advertising that you are such a generous, nice person. This is one of the new Regency pocket-sized transistor radios. This is the newest thing in radios. You can put it right in your coat pocket. See how light it is? And it gets stations all over the country. It's the newest thing, and I hope you're going to enjoy it.
Well, thank you very much.
And, Mr. Phillips, you are going to board a United Airlines 365-mile-an-hour DC-7. You're going to fly back to Chicago and stay at the Ambassador Hotel as our guest. Then you are going to go down to the Belmar Hotel in Miami Beach in Florida and have a vacation down there on us because you proved that a man in a jam can get $100 in 4 hours.
Thanks a lot.
Beginning of the show tonight, we selected a man out of the audience who said he never broke the law and he was a real law-abiding citizen, and we sent him out with 5 objects that I gave him to see whether he could walk around the streets of Hollywood for half an hour, use the 5 objects, and not break one single law. Let's find out what happened to him. Would you come out, please? It's Mr. Brown, isn't it?
Yes, that's right, Mr. Linkletter.
Mr. Brown, how did you enjoy your half hour? Were you a little uneasy?
Yes, it was quite nerve-wracking.
What did you do?
Well, we left the theater and crossed the street, and then I happened to look back and I saw 2 very strange-looking characters following me. I felt for the first time in my life I was being tailed.
You really felt you were being shadowed?
Yes, shadowed, that's the word for it.
Well, that's very odd. We didn't do any tricks at all, did we? Nobody came up to you and induced you to break a law.
No, that's right, no one did. Mr. Atkins went with me.
He trailed you along to get you back in time.
That's right. But I had this very uneasy feeling.
Well, I can tell you right now that we did have a police detective following you because we wanted to find out from him if you broke any laws of which you were unaware and couldn't tell us. For instance, if you had stood on the sidewalk up here, did you stand still any time and just stand around?
I think we kept walking pretty fast.
Because, for instance, if you had stood still for over a minute, you could have been arrested for loitering. You didn't know that, did you?
I didn't know it.
But you don't think you broke any laws?
No, not to my knowledge, I didn't break a law.
Mr. Atkins, would you come out here, please, sir? You have a report from the police detective backstage. Did he break any laws that the police detective saw him on his way up and down?
He broke no laws.
He didn't jaywalk?
He didn't jaywalk. He didn't do anything. I felt like I was walking with a sleepwalker. He's walking down the street so slowly as if he's afraid of doing something.
He didn't bump into anybody?
He was the politest man I've ever been with.
He did not expectorate?
Please, he didn't.
You did everything right. No laws?
No laws.
Now, I gave you 5 objects. First of all, may I have the knife? Where's the knife?
Well, here's the knife here, Mr. Lincoln.
There's the knife. All right. How'd you use the knife?
Well, I went into a drugstore and I asked the proprietor for permission to sharpen my pencil with the
Oh, you
knife.
used both of them together then?
That's right, used the two at the same time. He gave me permission, and I did sharpen the pencil.
What did you do with the shavings?
I asked permission to put them in his wastebasket rather than litter his store up. You know.
Very polite.
Yes.
So you used these two. I don't think you broke a law, did you?
No, I didn't, no, sir.
Now, what about the police whistle? Where's that?
Well, the police whistle, yes.
Were
here
you
it
worried
is,
about that one?
Yes, that had me worried. Very worried. You see, I stepped off the street so as not to blow this in the street. Went in the lobby of the theater here, up close to the
right out in
door.
front of us?
Yes, right here in front, And I blew it just very, very easily.
Well, I think you were careful enough. That's all right. Now, here comes an important one, the matches. Where are the matches?
Yes, sir. I have them
Did
right
you
here.
set fire to any buildings? What'd you do with the matches?
No, I use them with my cigarettes.
Oh, you opened the cigarettes?
That's right, yes, sir.
Uh-huh. And you lit the cigarette where?
In the drugstore.
And
Yes.
what did you do with the match?
Oh, I have the match right here. I moistened my fingers and put the match out so as not to danger of fire. Eliminate that. I brought the match back. Here's the match.
Oh,
here.
here's the match.
Yes,
Huh?
sir.
You are careful, aren't you?
Yes, sir. You have to.
You
be.
didn't
Yes,
do
sir.
anything wrong.
No, sir. I
Did
didn't.
you breathe during the stunt?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, all right. Now, you did open the cigarettes, and you took a cigarette.
Yes, sir. That's right.
And this is a very interesting part of a stunt, because I notice here that you gave the cigarettes a very clean tear around the corner.
Well, this is that new package that pops open. You know, when you open up with this little red ribbon, it pops open.
Yes, and I noticed that you were very neat. You didn't touch the little blue stamp across the top. You didn't tear it at all, did you? You're very careful.
The package doesn't tear when it pops open.
Oh, and so you didn't touch that. That's very neat. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is where Mr. Craig Brown was caught in a trap that millions of people daily commit. It's a felony, well, not a felony, but it's a federal offense not to break this stamp. Actually, I'll read this. It says here, every person is cautioned not to use either this package for cigarettes or the stamp thereon, or to remove the contents of the package without destroying said stamp. And you have very carefully avoided destroying the stamp. You have broken a federal law. You are liable to imprisonment at Alcatraz for 10 to 20 years. Not one person in a million, ladies and gentlemen, would know that that is the law. And the law reads that the stamp must be destroyed. You have broken the law, Mr. Brown.
May I unbreak the law and destroy the stamp now?
But it was too late, and you did break a law. I'm so sorry, however, for helping us to show how easy it is to break the law, and this was entirely a matter of chance. We didn't know whether you'd do it or not. You are going to get, as a consolation prize, a beautiful carpet for your home from the looms of Mohawk and a foam set cushion to double the life of the carpet. And our thanks for proving that people are funny.
Thank you, Mr. Lincoln.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. week.